And here we go. Welcome everybody being here. My name is Lucas Sorgiacomo. I'm the founder of CEO on Progress Lab. This is our first experiment with LinkedIn Lives. We welcome you, for those of you who are here now, and for those of you who will look at this video later on. Today, we're going to talk about if you are AI ready. But before diving into it, we want to give a very brief introduction about this format, what we're doing here. You may have noticed this is just a roughly 15 minutes event live. This is an executive briefing. What we're doing here is that we're trying to provide quick but actionable insights for executives of B2B manufacturers in how to improve the processes, improve the performances, improve the bottom line, and just get better and reach better their objectives. As I said, I'm the founder of Progress Lab. My name is Luca Sorgiacomo. We are from Italy. I'm Italian. Progress Lab helps B2B manufacturers doing exactly that. And we do that leveraging the most advanced technologies available in terms of software specifically. We also partner with other companies doing with hardware and other needs. But let's talk about manufacturing. Let's talk about AI. Why this question? Why figuring out if are we AI ready? Can we just implement AI? And this is the question that we want to ask. I've been diving into stats to research for this briefing, and there were numbers all over the place. AI is a very new technology, is evolving very fast, and it's hard to do research and benchmarks and surveys on that because things are changing every day. New tools are popping up. New solutions are coming in. Sometimes it takes time to see the results of new initiatives, especially in the manufacturing sector, which usually moves slower. But I was surprised to see that still most manufacturers, at least from a certain size onwards, they're at least exploring AI. I was surprised by that. Most of the times manufacturing stays behind for a few years until technology becomes more stable. AI is not stable at all in all its different aspects and forms, but they are trying. The market is perceiving AI as a need because it can be disruptive. It can be extremely powerful in increasing performances, productivity, quality, and many different things, as we will see. And therefore, companies are afraid of missing out. Companies are afraid of staying behind. And that's why it's so important to understand how to get ready for that in order not to stay behind. We see in several different case studies about the adoption of AI tools, and we'll see them during these few minutes. So let's start with what AI is. There's a lot of hype around, okay? That's number one topic. So let's figure out what that is, what it can actually do, what's the substance, what's the smoke, and let's figure that out. One thing that people get wrong about AI is that it's this magical one toolkit that can do anything and everything. It's not. First of all, there are many different types of AI. Often they are specialized in doing something very specific, especially in the industrial sector, and we'll see that later on. We have become accustomed to talking about AI referring to LLMs. LLMs are large language models. And because they are extremely powerful, they feel like we are talking to another person that knows a lot of stuff, knows almost anything and everything. They don't, first of all. They have been trained on a lot of data, and so they know a lot of things. But what LLMs are, and many other types of AI, are just very sophisticated statistical models. They replicate the data they have been trained on. This is very important. To be trained for LLMs, it takes huge amounts of data. It takes huge costs. Currently, ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, all the most famous LLMs around are still losing money. They are losing money. Like, we pay them if you want a premium models, but they still lose money because they pay a lot to train and run those models on a very expensive CPUs, very expensive hardware. So it takes a lot of data and a lot of hardware power to run them. It's not something magical. And they don't know everything. So why am I saying this? Because if you want to implement that kind of stuff in your company, first of all, you need to implement them in a way that it's secure with your private data, making sure it's not used to be trained public models that will leak your data outside. And you need to make sure that it answers the questions that you need. That is very important. But this is just one type. There are other types of AI. They're still statistical models. They're matching patterns, and so they need data to be trained on. And then there's another whole category of artificial intelligence, which is called symbolic artificial intelligence, but it's trained on logic models, on knowledge graphs. It's more structured, it's more predictable. It's used, for example, in medical diagnosis. Okay, what they're called expert systems. So why are we not all using that? Because it's extremely complicated to set that up. Imagine you need to recognize a cat. You need to describe a picture of a cat. Using these kind of models, you would have to describe explicitly to an artificial intelligence how to recognize a cat in any kind of position, in any kind of background, in any kind of color, race of the cat, and it's incredibly difficult. Instead, you just do the statistic approach. You dump 1 million pictures, different pictures of a cat, and the AI just kind of figures out what a cat looks like. It can't tell you why. It just matches the statistical model. So we have the statistical and we have the symbolic AIs with pros and cons. One is it requires less effort from a planning point of view, meaning that you don't need to explicitly tell all the rules to do what they need to do, but it does take a lot more resources. Like, you need to have 1 million data points just for a cat, for example. And in your company, that will be the same. So AI can't do everything. It has trade-offs, and it needs to be planned, and it needs to build on foundations that we have talked about. It's either a lot of data or it's either structured data, very well thought structured data. So this is no magic, and this is the kind of stuff. So this is the kind of the reality check. Let's go a little bit more into what AI can do in manufacturing, where it's actually used and it's showing ROI. There are several use cases. One that comes easy to mind, that is very well established, is automated quality inspection. Like, I have friends that do this. They're doing well, and it's incredibly powerful. Like, it's like having a quality engineer working at superhuman speed, being able to check every single piece that comes out. This is extremely useful in the food industry. This is extremely useful in electronics, in the precision mechanics, and in many different industries, in pharmaceuticals, chemical. Like, there are many different industries that can benefit from this kind of automated computer vision artificial intelligence. The next one is asset management, which includes predictive maintenance. By asset management, you could handle the status of your assets. You could govern your assets through AI. Like, for example, regulate the temperature of something, even just the heat pumps, the temperature of the rooms, based on the light outside, based on the outside temperature, based on the time of the day, without using very strict rules, but having AI learning and understanding and doing that. You could have energy management through the same tools. And in fact, there are use cases where there are companies. There was this plastic molding company that achieved 40% savings in energy costs by applying AI models. And then, of course, predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance means there's a computer reading the parameters of a machine, of a part, even a single part of a machine, of equipment, of a plant. And basically, it's like this SPC, statistical process control chart, being updated in real time and noticing, without you telling exactly when to give you notice, and recognizing in advance when the machine is going to fail. And also here, there are proven case studies of that, where you can predict when the machine, when a pump, when a valve, it's going to fail 8 hours, 24 hours a week in advance, depending on the situation. And that, of course, prevents downtime, reduces downtime a lot, and that can save a lot of money to companies. Same as the energy management and all the asset management and control in general. Another application is supply chain and logistics optimizations. If you have warehouses, if you have several factories around, if you have distribution, large distribution network, optimizing the trips, the saturation of the vehicles on the containers, that can, of course, you can understand that can come with a lot of interesting cost savings. Inventory management, similar thing, like AI can analyze statistically the patterns of consumption of your materials, of your sub-assemblies, of your final finished products, and that can suggest optimizations in terms of time, of location, of many different parameters in what to produce and when, what to ship and when, where to put stuff. There are several things that we can optimize here in inventory management, but it can happen and it can achieve results. It has achieved results in several different cases. Product design. This is very interesting on the actual engineering and R&D part. AI has achieved very impressive results. What you see here, this picture, is the testing of the first AI-generated rocket. An AI has fully designed a functioning rocket, and this is a picture of the test. So it's happening, and it can happen. And when you do failure analysis, when you do stress analysis, you can do several different things. Design optimizations for load bearing and torque resistance and tension resistance, but like, you name it. There are many different models that can support it here. Technical quoting and offer generation. I mean, I know a lot of companies that have complex products and therefore have complex logic and procedures to define the actual products that they need to build based on the customer requirements. What you see often is very complicated Excel sheets and very expert technical sales specialists that spends hours and days and weeks in and out defining quotes for customers, imaging them being able to serve the customer better, not having to just crunch numbers and options on an Excel sheet. And this is something that AI can offer too. Business process automation, like this is basically the most boring one, but it's also probably the one that has one of the highest ROIs in absolute. Why is that? For those that are familiar with lean principles, you need to see the whole flow. You need to see the whole value stream from beginning to end. And everything that we've talked so far about AI applications is vertical, deals with a pretty specific department or function. And processes usually cover more functions. When you factor in business process automation and you help data going from one side to another, from one department to another, flow smoothly, then the whole company performance and productivity increases. This is very, very, very important. And AI here can help a lot. Also in small, limited things like processing invoices, for example, like supplier invoices that come in PDFs and just processing automatically, that already is a big advantage. There's a lot of very annoying and boring stuff, but even supporting the communication between departments and making sure the whole process flows quickly and in a robust manner is extremely powerful. We have one of our customers, for example, it's a very small company, and they have saved with even before we got to the end of the project, which implemented even more automation, they had already saved 75 days of man hours in every year. That's not bad. Production scheduling. This is very interesting, especially in B2B manufacturing. Production schedule can change very quickly, and if you need to go back to the drawing board for the production schedule, you need to set another meeting with the department heads and all that. You can spend a whole week just updating people on production changes with and you planning the changes and then communicating them. With the AI, you can generate several scenarios. It's a snap. You pick the one you prefer, and then you can communicate it automatically with other digital tools, and that can save a lot of time as well. This is not magic. What I'm saying may look like magic. It does need a lot of effort at the beginning, but it's worth it, and we'll talk about it just a tiny bit. I'm going short, so I'm going to cut short. Training and knowledge management is another case at hand that works very well, and where LLMs can play a very big part. So, are you ready for this? How do you know if you're ready for that? As I said, you need a foundation for AI. If you have that foundation, you are ready. Most companies that struggle implementing AI is because they've expressed troubles with data management, data quality, data governance. Data is a foundation for any software, any 4.0 initiative for that matter, but especially for AI, both for statistical and symbolic logic AI. You either have the data to train the AI, or you need to have the rules. You need to have the knowledge of how your business works to implement that. So do you have that? Do you have a data repository that is clean and ready to be used all in one place? Or do you have a very clear view of how things work at every step of the way, from the beginning to the end of your processes? Most companies don't. So most companies aren't ready. But they can become ready, and the effort can be very little to do that. You need to start from your processes. You need to start mapping out your processes. You need to start mapping out data models. You need to start mapping out your rules of action. You need to start mapping out where your data is and how to put it together. This is something that we do every day. This is something that we help companies do very well. We've helped companies achieve incredible results in very little time, and we can help you with that. So if you feel you're not ready, you don't have this holistic view of your data, holistic view of your processes, it takes very little to get there compared to what you can achieve by then implementing the tools upon this strong foundation of understanding of your processes and of your data. So if you want to know more about these things, about a specific use case, about how to get ready for AI, to lay the foundations for this, just drop a comment, leave us a message, write us in Progress Lab Company, write me, get in touch on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to talk one-on-one, or we'll do other lives in the future and we can go more in depth into that. So thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you next time.